Huiyin and Soryang left the inn and began to walk through the forest. Huiyin's face was full of rage. Our boy approached her and with a curious expression asked if she was still upset about what the innkeeper had said. Despite being so, she denied it. In front of them was Gupi, who carried all the luggage in his backpack. With a furious gaze, Huiyin turned around and made it clear that it was ridiculous to think that Namgung Xiao was absorbing men's masculine energy every night. Soryang's eyes widened in fear, realizing that she was upset. Huiyin let out a sigh. With a sincere expression, she apologized since she didn't want to get angry. But according to her, those rumors were nonsense. She revealed that Namgung Xiao could not have contact with men, leaving Soryang in shock. With a face full of sadness, Huiyin revealed that Xiao had a strange illness, and if she didn't constantly receive yin energy, her life expectancy would shorten. Due to that type of body, yang energy was like poison for her. That's why she was careful not to let any man get close to her. So spending each night with men was something impossible for her. With a confused gaze, Soryang realized that this scenario was like that of a fantasy heroine. He didn't know if this was going to end well. Several hours later, they arrived at the entrance of the Namgung Manor. With a serious gaze, the guard began looking at Soryang and asked what they had come for. Huiyin began whispering, and her eyes started shining with seriousness, realizing that the family atmosphere in the Namgung clan wasn't good. So it was possible that the guards wouldn't allow them, and if they said they came to see Xiao without any reason. So she asked our boy to make something up. With a curious expression, Soryang decided to listen to her. Our boy approached the guards, coughed, and with his eyes shining with confidence said they had come to make a deal. The guards said nothing, and upon seeing this, Huiyin panicked since she didn't know what Soryang was saying. Seeing that the plan hadn't worked, our boy couldn't help but sweat. Just then, someone opened the door upon hearing the commotion. Upon seeing who this person was, Soryang and Huiyin's eyes filled with surprise, leaving them in shock. This person was Namgung Yoon. She was just as surprised to see Huiyin. Thanks to her, Soryang and the others entered the clan's manor, and Huiyin and Yoon began to dance with joy. Yoon was happy since it had been a long time since the last time she had seen Huiyin. With a smile, Huiyin mentioned that it had been 2 years since the meeting of the 7 families. With a confused expression, Yoon asked what Soryang meant by making a deal. Huiyin closed her eyes and let out a sigh. With a nervous expression, Soryang began to show a smile. Huiyin explained that they needed the ice jade, and she had heard last time that Xiao had it. Upon hearing this, Yoon felt somewhat surprised. With a sincere gaze, Huiyin mentioned that they really needed it, so they had come to see if they could get it. Yoon put her hands together and with a kind smile suggested first going to the Patriarch's hall to talk about the matter with her father. She was sure that her father was going to be happy to see Huiyin after such a long time. Resting her hands on Soryang's shoulders, with a smile Huiyin revealed that she had brought something to exchange for the ice jade. Our boy's eyes widened in confusion. Yoon was in shock and asked if she wanted to exchange Soryang. Not long after, they went to the Namgung clan Patriarch's hall. They told everything to the Patriarch. He stood up and with a surprised gaze asked if it was true. His eyes widened in fear. He was in shock since he couldn't believe that they had brought an elixir that contained cold energy. Huiyin asked Soryang to show it. Upon hearing this, with a smile, our boy put his hand inside his clothes, took out the elixir, and placed it on the table. The Patriarch's attention was fixed on it and his mind was filled with surprise. Inside the elixir there was something shining. With a curious gaze, the Patriarch asked if he could take a closer look, and with a smile Soryang gave him permission. Soryang couldn't help but sweat. It was an elixir that he had brought very carefully, keeping it in his arms. He hoped that they would accept this exchange. The Patriarch began to examine the elixir carefully, and mentioned that the purity of cold kai was very high. With this, she could endure at least 10 years. With a curious expression, Yoon asked if really it was so incredible. Because it was so valuable, the Patriarch decided to exchange it for the ice jade. Upon hearing this, a joyful smile appeared on the faces of Huiyin and Soryang. Pointing at it with his finger, the Patriarch noticed that there was something inside and questioned what it was. With a forced smile, our boy said he couldn't tell him that. The Patriarch realized that it could reveal the place where the elixir had been found and decided not to ask further. With a smile, Soryang coughed and thanked him. But then his face filled with fear since he knew that wasn't the real reason behind it. A few days ago, Soryang was in the clan walking with the grandfather. Our boy began to feel something cold in his clothes. The old man's attention fixed on him and he asked if there was any problem. Our boy took it out of his clothes and his eyes widened in confusion. It was a tail. Soryang handed the tail to the grandfather and mentioned that there was a strange thing similar to an ice crystal in the gecko's tail that he had kept as a souvenir. With a curious expression, the grandfather began to examine the tail carefully, and noticed that it had cold kai, knowing that it was going to be good material for those who had mastered ice martial arts or cold kai martial arts. Soryong began to touch his chin and remembered the small geckos. He thought they stored nutrients in their tails, like fate-tailed gecko. He would have never thought that it was actually cold kai. With a smile, the grandfather asked if Soryong wanted to try turning the tail into an elixir. Back in the present, our boy was in shock since he knew that a withered gecko's tail wasn't even worth mentioning. With a cheerful gaze, the patriarch asked Yoon to go tell her sister to exchange this elixir for the ice jade. Upon hearing this, she nodded. Now that they were already here, he asked them to rest a little. He had to organize a party to welcome the guests of his clan. He also noticed that Hwayun was close to Seol. He revealed that his daughter had gone through something difficult recently, and wondered if she could comfort her while she was here. With a smile, Hwayun did not refuse. They stood up and Yoon decided to guide them to the guest residence. They left the mansion and began walking. With a smile, Yoon mentioned that thanks to Hwayun, her father was in a good mood. These past few days, they had been walking on thin ice. With a curious gaze, Hwayun asked what had happened to Seol since she had heard rumors near Mount Hwangshan. Yoon's eyes filled with surprise upon noticing that she knew that. Her eyes began to shine with sadness because she didn't think Seol would do something like that. But since they hadn't been able to find any clues, she was locked in the confinement room and had to be marked with virginity sand to prove her innocence. Hwayun was in shock and Soryong was somewhat confused. Virginity sand was something women applied on their bodies to demonstrate that their body was pure. If you raise a gecko in a jar and feed it cinnabar, its body will turn red. Hwayun revealed that afterwards it was ground into powder and applied to the woman's body. If her body was pure, that blood mark could not be washed off even with water. Upon hearing this, Soryong's eyes widened in surprise and confusion. He was furious since identifying a maiden was the task of a unicorn, not that of a gecko. Seeing Soryong's expression, Hwayun panicked. Just then, they arrived at the place where Seol was, catching their attention. Soryong's eyes widened in surprise. Not far from them sat Seol with the blood mark still on her hand. With a smile, Hwayun greeted her. Upon seeing Hwayun, Seol couldn't help but go into shock. Yoon revealed that she had brought an elixir containing cold kai. Their father wanted her to exchange it for the ice jade. Yoon gave Seol the elixir. Her eyes widened with curiosity and her jaw dropped upon noticing the immense cold kai of it. She thanked them and decided to make the exchange, making Hwayun and Soryong feel happy. She took out the ice jade and handed it to Soryong. Our boy began to observe it carefully and couldn't help but smile. Just then, with a sad gaze, Seol let out a sigh. The attention of our boy and Hwayun focused on her. With a sincere gaze, Hwayun admitted having heard the rumors. She didn't believe that Seol would do something like that, so she asked her not to get too discouraged. With an expression full of sadness, she mentioned that there were many witnesses who knew where her mole was. Soryong's eyes filled with emotion upon realizing that this was a mysterious case. He put his hand over his face and couldn't help but smile. Our boy was an expert in this kind of thing, and in his previous life he was called Sherlock Faber when they played escape in deduction rooms. With a smile, he asked if Seol had ever bathed alone in a pond or river at night. She began to observe our boy and felt confused. With a serene expression, Hwayun asked if he wanted to know if someone had been spying on her. Soryong's jaw dropped when he realized she was right. With her face full of sweat, Seol admitted never having bathed outside, and even if they had seen her, they had no reason to defame her. The people who were in the reception hall were like family since they lived together in the village at the foot of the mountain. Yoon mocked Soryong, saying that he was wrong. Soryong's face filled with sweat. He couldn't believe that he had failed. He fell to his knees on the ground and begged for forgiveness. Just then, Hwayun noticed something. Putting her hands together and with a smile, she revealed that she had solved the mystery. According to her, there was only one probable explanation for this situation. Everyone's attention turned to her and all felt confused and curious. With a serious gaze, she revealed the probable explanation for this situation. So, friends, this chapter comes to an end. What will happen next? We'll uncover it in the next chapter. Don't forget to rate this chapter out of 10 in the comments. We'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care and goodbye. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.